When I came back from the hospital, there was another car in my garage. My daughter just smiled and said, "It's mine." I didn't think much of it until I found out what she'd been hiding. Trust me, you'll want to hear this to the very end. And hey, before we start, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens next will remind you that love isn't always what it looks like. When I walked up my driveway that late September afternoon, my legs still felt a little shaky. The hospital had been kind enough to send me home with a stack of papers and a smile. But home is where the truth lives, and I was nervous to see how much had changed while I was gone. The garage door was half open. For a moment, I thought someone had left it like that by accident. Then the sun caught on something glossy inside and my heart did a small, confused flip. There was a car I didn't recognize, new, clean, the kind of car dealers put in magazines. It was parked beside my old sedan, which had been sitting there for years, a faithful thing with a dent in the bumper from when I backed into the mailbox. I stood at the top of the driveway, clutching the duffel bag the hospital had sent home with me. The bite of the September air felt sharp and real. I had imagined coming back and seeing my life exactly where I'd left it. The same porch light, the same rusted mailbox, the same garage with the same old car. I did not expect a mystery waiting in the shadows. "Hello," I called, my voice sounding small. Maybe the neighbor had left a new car by mistake. Maybe someone came by to help and parked inside. I took a step forward and the gravel crunched under my shoe. From inside the garage, Emily appeared. My daughter. She looked the same and different all at once. Taller somehow, shoulders broader, the faint lines at the corner of her eyes that come from laughing too much and worrying too much. She carried herself with a kind of quiet confidence I wasn't used to seeing in her. "It's mine," she said, as if she were telling me the sky was blue. I blinked. "Your car." The words came out crooked. I felt like a child asking for permission to stay up late. She nodded slowly. "I bought it." For a second, I just looked at her. The truth is, my mind did not know what to do with the word bought. I thought of the hospital bills, the way the last 3 months had been a blur of doctors and forms and the people who came and went speaking in small, urgent sentences. I thought of the mortgage and the way I'd always been the one to call and fix things. Cars, pipes, the lawn mower, the invisible scaffolding of a life. How had she managed to buy a car without talking to me? My voice came out softer. "How, when?" She shifted her weight, looking at the car like she could see all the months inside it. "A few months. I didn't tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise." "A surprise," I repeated, thinking of surprises that ended in broken dishes and surprises that started with flowers. This felt different, heavy, important. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that had edges. "I've been saving. I took extra shifts, Dad. Nights, weekends. I sold things I didn't need. I put money away every week. I wanted you to come home to something nice." Her words were simple, straightforward, and yet they landed like a stone in my chest. I had been away. Blood tests and scans and a steady parade of worried faces, and while I was fighting to hold myself together, she had been fighting her own fight quietly, behind the scenes. I felt a sudden swell of pride and an even larger swell of guilt. Pride because my daughter had become someone who could plan, save, and act. Guilt because I hadn't known how hard she was working, because I had thought I needed to protect her and instead she had been doing the protecting in her own way. I walked closer to the car. The paint was a deep, honest blue. Its tires were clean. The interior smelled faintly of new leather. On the passenger seat sat a card with my name on it. My hand trembled when I reached for it. Inside the card were a few lines in her handwriting. "Welcome home, Dad. You can drive it if you want. Love, M." No addresses, no explanations, just that tiny, careful love note. I looked up at her. She folded her arms like someone standing between herself and an uncertain world. "I wanted to do something to make you smile," she said. "You came back, and I thought, this will help." Help. The word hung in the air. I thought of hospital rooms, of the dull ache I'd been carrying, the way the nights had felt long and full of small fears. I thought of how little things can mean the most. A new car, to someone who has been scared of getting around alone, might be more than transportation. Could be freedom, could be reassurance. For a long time, we just stood there. A father who had been away, a daughter who had been working beneath the radar, and a shiny blue car between us like a bridge. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my bedroom window like it was trying to remind me that life keeps moving, whether you're ready or not. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the folded hospital discharge papers on my nightstand. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen downstairs. Emily's doing. It had been 3 months since the heart attack. 3 months of fluorescent lights, slow beeping monitors, and too many whispered conversations that ended in "thank God he made it." Coming home felt like waking from a long, strange dream, only to realize that your house had learned to live without you. I moved carefully, one step at a time, holding the stair rail tighter than usual. Emily was in the kitchen, hair tied up, humming softly to a country song on the radio. When she saw me, she grinned. "Morning, Dad. I made you oatmeal. The doctor said low sodium, right?" Her cheerfulness made me smile and ache all at once. "You remembered." "Of course," she said. "I read everything they sent home with you." I sat down at the kitchen table, noticing the faint smell of new car wax coming through the open window. The blue car was still in the driveway, shining like a promise I didn't quite understand. After a few bites, I cleared my throat. "So, about that car." She froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. "You don't like it?" "It's not that," I said quickly. "It's beautiful. It's just, how did you afford it, Em?" Her eyes flicked toward the window. "I told you, I saved." "I know," I said softly. "But that's a lot of saving." There was a pause, a long one. Then she put her spoon down. "I took out a small loan too," she admitted, "just to finish the payment. I'm managing it fine, Dad. I promise." My chest tightened, not from pain this time, but from worry. "A loan? You didn't have to do that. You should be thinking about your own future, not—" She cut in gently. "You are my future, Dad." That hit me harder than any lecture a doctor could have given. She looked at me with those steady, patient eyes, the same eyes that once asked for help tying her shoes, now filled with the weight of adult choices. "I just wanted you to see something good when you came back," she said. "After everything that happened, I needed to prove to myself that I could take care of things if I had to." Her words made me sit still. I'd always seen myself as the protector, the one who worked, paid the bills, fixed the leaky faucets, and made sure the car ran. But now the roles had quietly shifted. Somewhere between my last heartbeat in that hospital and this morning's first sip of coffee, my little girl had become the strong one. Still, part of me couldn't let go of the unease. "You should have told me," I said softly. "I wanted to," she said. "But you were so weak, Dad. I didn't want you worrying about something small like money when you were fighting to live." "Something small?" I chuckled weakly. "You bought a car, Em. That's not small." She smiled, the corners of her mouth tugging upward. "Well, it's mine, but I kind of thought of it as ours. You'll need something reliable now that the old sedan barely runs. We can share it." Her words sank in slowly, ours. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed that sound. The warmth of a family word, something that made home feel alive again. After breakfast, she tossed me the keys with a grin. "Want to go for a ride?" The metal clicked in my palm. Smooth, unfamiliar, heavier than it looked. I stared at it for a moment before nodding. "Sure. Let's see what this beauty can do." Outside, the morning air was crisp, the sky wide and forgiving. She helped me into the passenger seat like I was the child now, fussing with the seatbelt and adjusting the vents. The engine purred to life, quiet, confident. As we drove through the neighborhood, I noticed how easily she handled the car. One hand steady on the wheel, the other resting near the gearshift. She'd grown up right under my nose, and I hadn't even noticed. At a stoplight, I turned to her. "You've done good, Em." She smiled without looking over. "Thanks, Dad." And for a brief, quiet moment, everything felt right again. Like time had slowed down to let us breathe. The hospital, the fear, the nights of pain. All of it seemed far away. There was only the sound of the road, the hum of the engine, and the small miracle of sitting beside my daughter, alive and grateful. But as we turned onto Maple Drive, I caught sight of something that made my stomach tighten again. A man standing on the sidewalk, waving slightly, his eyes meeting Emily's for just a second too long. She pretended not to notice, but I did. And right then, I knew there was more to the story of that car than she was telling me. The man's face stayed in my head long after we passed him. He looked to be in his 30s, maybe a little older, the kind of man who's lived just enough life to look tired even when he smiles. He waved once, casually, but there was a flicker of familiarity in it. Emily's knuckles tightened on the steering wheel for half a second before she changed the subject. "Want to stop by the park?" she asked, her voice a little too cheerful. "Sure," I said slowly, but my mind was still tracing that wave, that brief connection between them. I didn't say anything, not yet. We parked near the lake, where the early autumn trees were starting to blush red and gold. Emily got out first, breathing in the crisp air like it was something she'd been missing. I followed, slower, my chest still sore if I moved too fast. She walked ahead, her hands tucked into her jacket pockets, and I saw that thoughtful slump in her shoulders, the same one her mother used to get when she was hiding something. "So," I said finally, "want to tell me who that guy was?" She froze mid-step, turned around with that practiced smile again, the one she thought could fool me. "What guy?" "The one waving on Maple Drive." "Oh, him." She shrugged too quickly. "Just someone from work." "Uh-huh," I said, raising an eyebrow. "And what kind of work are you doing now exactly? You mentioned you've been taking extra shifts, but you never said where." She hesitated. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, nodding slowly. "That's usually another word for, don't ask." She sighed, sitting down on a bench facing the water. "Dad, please don't make this a big thing. I've been working at a dealership. Started part-time doing paperwork. Then I moved into helping customers. That guy you saw, Mark, is one of the senior sales reps. He helped me get the employee discount when I bought the car." I studied her face. She wasn't lying, at least not completely. But there was something unspoken hanging between the words, something heavier than she was letting on. "You sure that's all?" I asked quietly. Her voice softened. "It's all, Dad. I promise." Then she looked at me with this tired kind of smile. "You always think I'm hiding something." I looked out over the water. "That's what parents do. We worry about what we can't see." For a while, neither of us said anything. Ducks floated lazily near the shore. Somewhere behind us, a little boy was laughing as he tried to fly a kite. Life went on, as it always does, even when something inside you is still catching up. When we finally drove home, the silence wasn't angry. It was cautious, the kind that grows between two people who love each other but don't know how to explain everything yet. Later that evening, after she went upstairs to take a shower, I found myself standing in the garage again. The car gleamed under the ceiling light. I ran a hand along the hood, feeling the cold metal. The keys were still in the ignition. Out of habit, I opened the glove compartment, and there it was, a folded envelope with a bank logo on it. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Inside was a payment schedule and a loan document, only it wasn't from a bank. It was a personal loan agreement. The lender's name hit me like a hammer. Mark Townsend. That same man. I sat down on an old work stool, my hands trembling. Emily hadn't just taken a dealership discount. She'd taken money from someone she knew personally, someone who clearly cared enough to front her several $1,000s. And now my daughter was tangled in something that went deeper than I'd imagined. When I heard her footsteps upstairs, I quietly slid the papers back and closed the glove box. My mind raced, fear, protectiveness, guilt all at once. I'd been lying in a hospital bed while she was out there trying to fix everything alone. And maybe, just maybe, she'd trusted the wrong person to help her do it. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house sounded like a warning. Around midnight, I got up and went to the window. The car was parked neatly in the driveway, shining under the streetlight like a beautiful secret. I watched the stillness for a while, wondering if being a father ever stops feeling like walking a tightrope, between pride and worry, between letting go and holding on too tight. And then, just as I was about to turn away, A pair of headlights appeared down the street. The same blue sedan. Mark's car. It slowed near our driveway, not stopping, just enough to let me see the driver's face under the passing light. He looked up at the window, straight at me, then he drove off. My stomach turned cold. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about a car anymore. The next morning, the air felt heavier. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Emily was already gone when I came downstairs, her car missing from the driveway. The oatmeal bowl from the night before still sat in the sink, untouched. I stood there for a moment, one hand resting on the counter, the other pressed against the dull ache in my chest. The image of Mark's car passing by last night wouldn't leave me. It wasn't just a friendly check-in. It had been deliberate, calculated. And if there's one thing life teaches you after 60, it's that people don't circle your house at midnight for innocent reasons. I made myself a cup of black coffee, doctor's orders be damned, and waited. Around 9 a.m., I heard the hum of the engine pulling back into the driveway. I stepped out onto the porch as Emily parked the car. She looked startled to see me standing there. "Hey, you're up early," she said, forcing a smile. "Where were you?" She hesitated. "Just out running errands. I picked up your prescription." "Before sunrise?" I asked gently. Her eyes darted away. "Dad, please don't start. It's nothing." But I'd lived long enough to know when something was something. "Emily," I said, quieter now, "I know about the loan. I saw the papers in the glove box." The color drained from her face. "You looked through my things?" "I had to," I said. "You weren't telling me the whole truth." She took a deep breath, jaw tightening as tears formed in her eyes. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she whispered. "Then tell me how it's supposed to be." For a long moment, all I could hear was the wind brushing through the maple trees out front. Then she sat down on the porch steps and started to talk. Her voice low, trembling at first, then steady as she let the truth spill out. "I met Mark when you were in the hospital," she said. "He was one of the salesmen at the dealership where I work. He was kind, helped me when I was struggling to cover bills and car repairs. When you had your heart attack, I panicked. I didn't know how long you'd be gone, how much the insurance would cover, or how I'd manage everything alone. Mark offered to help, said I could pay him back whenever I was stable again. He made it sound so simple." I closed my eyes. I could hear the guilt in her voice, that mix of shame and exhaustion that comes when good intentions turn into bad decisions. "So you took the loan?" She nodded. "He said it was no big deal, but lately he's been different, asking for dinners, hinting at things. I keep saying no, but he doesn't back off. That's why I didn't tell you. I thought I could handle it." My heart twisted with anger and fear all at once. Not at her, never at her, but at the man who'd taken advantage of her kindness, of her fear. I sat beside her, taking her hand. "You shouldn't have had to handle it alone," I said quietly. "That's on me." She shook her head. "No, Dad. I was trying to protect you." The sun crept higher, warming the porch steps, but neither of us moved. It felt like time had paused for us to breathe again. Two people bound by love, guilt, and the stubborn need to take care of each other in different ways. After a while, I said, "Give me his number. Dad, please." Reluctantly, she handed me her phone. I dialed the number before she could stop me. Mark answered after 2 rings. "Hello. This is Emily's father," I said evenly. "We need to talk." There was a pause. Then a slick voice. "Ah, Mr. Matthews. I was just..." "Don't," I cut in. "You lent money to my daughter under false pretenses, and now you're harassing her. Here's what's going to happen. You'll get your money back by the end of next month. And if you ever call, text, or drive past this house again, you'll be dealing with more than just an old man with a heart problem. Are we clear?" Silence. Then a low chuckle that didn't last long. "Crystal clear," he said, and the line went dead. I sat there for a moment, breathing hard, feeling that familiar thump in my chest. Emily looked at me with tears in her eyes, half relief, half worry. "Dad, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did," I said. "You've been protecting me long enough." Let me do something for you now. She laughed softly, wiping her tears. You're supposed to be resting. I'll rest when I'm sure you're safe. That evening, we sat in the garage again, the blue car between us like a symbol of everything that had gone wrong and right all at once. Emily had already called her bank and set up a payment plan. The loan was being transferred, legitimate this time. The mess was being cleaned up. But more than that, something had shifted between us. I looked at her, really looked, and saw not the little girl who used to beg for bedtime stories, but a woman who'd carried more than she should have, who'd learned to stand tall even when she was scared. You know, I said quietly, you remind me of your mom. Stubborn, brave, and always thinking she has to fix everything herself. Emily smiled faintly. Guess I learned from the best. We both laughed then, a real laugh, the kind that pulls the weight off your chest for a little while. Outside, the sun began to dip below the trees, painting the sky orange and gold. I reached out and touched the car's hood. It's a good car, I said. She nodded. Yeah, it is. Maybe, I added, glancing at her. It's time I learned to let someone else take the wheel for a while. She smiled, eyes glistening. You've earned that, Dad. As the garage light flickered and the day gave way to twilight, we stood side by side. No secrets left between us, just the quiet peace of two people who'd finally learned how to trust each other again. And for the first time since I'd come home from the hospital, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, safe. Safe because I knew, no matter what roads lay ahead, my daughter could drive us both through them.